Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Legends of Sport podcast. I'm your host, Andy Bernstein. This week's episode is a classic conversation I had in season 4 with the legendary Jamal Crawford. Jamal recently announced his retirement from the NBA after a stellar 20-year career. Jamal is best known for his killer crossover move and being the king of the four-point play. He was a 3-time winner of the NBA's Sixth Man of the Year award and only the second player in NBA history to score 10,000 points off the bench. Jamal and I had a great conversation about his start in basketball, playing against the great Kobe Bryant and what he learned from the Mamba, his deep love for his hometown of Seattle, and how he gives back to his community with his annual crossover league, and much, much more. One of the truly nicest, down-to-earth guys I have met in my 40-plus years covering the NBA. It is our pleasure to congratulate Jamal on an amazing career and bring this classic episode to all of you. So enjoy this conversation with the great Jamal Crawford, and as always, I'll see you on the backside. So, welcome to Jamal Crawford to the Legends of Sport podcast. One of my favorite guys. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I don't know if I should be on Legends of Sport, but you are. So I think we get a pass to get in the door of the Legends because you're there.
Jamal, have you read your resume? I mean, come on.
No.
Are you kidding me? 20
Man,
years.
I'm a kid just dreaming, man. I used to dream about this. Like I literally dreamed about being in the NBA.
Wow.
Like every single day of my life. It's crazy. I heard a song yesterday when I was driving. It's everybody, when I was 10 years old. And so at the time, I remember going to a Sonics game or a Laker game. And I remember hearing that song in the arena. So my thought was all pros listen to this song. So when I would go back and listen to it, I'm like, this is what the pros do. I got to listen to this to get to the pros. So it's crazy how life works out.
That's amazing. Well, I wanted to get into where it all started for you. And so let's jump ahead and do that. Okay. So where did the love for basketball start? I mean, you're from Seattle.
Yeah.
Tell us the whole story here.
So I've had a basketball in my hands ever since I was 2 years old. Like literally. And it's amazing because my dad played. He was all city in Los Angeles, and then he went to the University of Oregon, and he played with Kevin Love's dad, Stan Love. Oh. So I've always been around basketball. And when I was a kid, my one carry-on the plane would be a basketball. When I went to sleep, it was in the bed with me. I took it every single place I went. And so that love just developed and developed. And there was a certain joy. I would go mimic moves that I would see on TV from Dr. J or Isaiah or Magic or Jordan, and like just try to do it. And I would go outside in the backyard. I loved it because it was something you could do with people or by yourself. You know, so I would spend so many hours by myself more than anything, just dribbling or shooting or doing the countdown, 3, 2, 1, and shooting and practicing those, those moments. And so for me, the love has always been there. I remember I played baseball at 8 years old. I played football at 8 years old, and I started basketball on club teams. And basketball was the one that was a total different joy. And it's still to this day. And it's amazing.
That's wonderful. So did you grow up a Sonics fan? I mean, you had to be a Sonics fan, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up, Gary Payton was the guy, right? So Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, that whole era. And then when I moved to LA, obviously I would go to Laker games, sneak in the Great Western Forum, which was an unbelievable building, and see, Nick Van Axel or Eddie Jones or Cedric Sabalas, and then Magic when he came back. So just so many different memories.
Yeah. Well, how old were you when you moved to LA?
Well, I moved 2 different times. So I moved the first time I was in 4th grade, so I guess 9 or 10. So I was there from, 5th to 8th grade. No, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. I was in Seattle, 4th and 5th grade. I was in LA. I moved back to Seattle. Then I went back to LA from 8th to 10th grade.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so 2 different times. Yeah.
And where did you do high school?
High school was Dorsey High School, and then Morningside. Yeah, because I lived in Inglewood. Yeah.
Oh man, see, I didn't realize that. I thought you were just the Seattle guy from beginning to end.
Through and through, right? I am, but I had 2 different stints in LA. Yeah.
It's so interesting. So the crossover, did that come early? I mean, did you watch Tim Hardaway? I mean, what was, where did that come from?
I watched Tim Hardaway. I watched Isaiah Thomas. I watched Allen Iverson. I remember being when I got, 15, 16, Allen Iverson's rookie year. And this is before like the internet, right? So the internet was just kind of kicking off. And I remember going into our school library, and the internet took like 10 minutes to load up to watch a 5-second clip. and I did that to watch Allen Iverson's crossover and study it. Then I replay it and replay it and replay it. And so, I was always intrigued with ball handling, but I think Isaiah Thomas was the first person that had me so intrigued. Then Tim Hardaway came, then Allen Iverson came. It just went from there.
Well, yeah. You're talking three legends right there.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You can emulate anybody. Any one of those guys would be amazing. So Jamal, were you recruited, like highly recruited out of high school? I mean, I know you ended up going to Michigan, but like, why didn't you go to UW, or like what happened?
Yeah, I actually was. I came on the scene late, so 8th through 10th grade, I was in LA. I moved back to Seattle. And then I only played my last 2 years of high school. My first couple of years, I wasn't as focused on school. So even though I made the team, I didn't get a chance to play because my grades weren't up to par. So then my last 2 years, I made up for it. And that's when the recruiting started heavy the last year. And I had choices from Michigan to UCLA to Washington. Those are my 3 finals. And then Fresno State, because the great Tark was there, right? Yeah, he was there. He recruited me and actually committed to him early. And so I had different choices, but Michigan, the Fab Five with Jalen Rose and those guys, I always dreamed about going to Michigan since I was a kid. So when the opportunity came and had the opportunity to go, and great university, get a chance to play right away, it was a no-brainer for me. I committed early, actually.
Yeah.
Signed her.
Yeah. And then you ended up playing 1 year. You declared for the draft.
Yes.
2000 draft, right? And you were picked eighth by Cleveland. Draft night trade. You ended up with Chicago. Right. So how did that feel to end up going to Chicago like right after the second three-peat? I mean, this was rebuilding.
A year or two after. Yeah, it was amazing. And the funny story is the day of the draft, it was in Minnesota that year before they moved it to New York full time. And the day of the draft, you go eat and do all this stuff. And I'm wearing Bulls gear the whole time. It was so weird. I would have the Bulls practice shirt they gave me, the Bulls practice shorts, some Jordans. And I wore it the whole day, and it's crazy. It worked out that way, right? And then going to Chicago, obviously Michael Jordan's my favorite player ever. So the Bulls, after the Sonics, was my favorite team, right? And they actually overtook the Sonics being my favorite team. And so to have the opportunity to play for a team I've seen so much, and to go to Chicago, the house that Michael built was just an amazing thing.
Oh, I can imagine. So a natural segue then to the great MJ. And I read that your dad actually told you that MJ had his eyeballs on you. What is the story with that?
Crazy story, Drew, is my dad, during the draft process, when I put my name in the draft, my dad, and I think at the time MJ was just starting with the Wizards as an executive in the front office. And my dad was like, "Hey, MJ likes your game." So I'm like, "Yeah, right. This is not social media. Dad, you do not know Michael Jordan. What are you talking about? Like, get out of here." So it goes in one ear, out the other. Fast forward, I go to Chicago my rookie year. I know Tim Grover. And he's like, "Hey, MJ said you can meet him." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." So he called me at 6:30 in the morning. I get to downtown at the gym at 7. In the gym, it's myself, Tim, and MJ. And MJ's doing, I'll never forget, he's doing these defensive slide drills, right? He's almost 40 years old. And at the time, I don't know he's coming back, but he's working out in the gym. It's just us 3. And I'm trying to, not talk too much because he's doing the workout. So I'm kind of talking as he talks in between sets. And then I want to tell everybody when I leave there. We had a game that morning, by the way. Or, that day. So I shoot around that morning like 10. I'm trying to tell everybody back home 2 hours behind. I just met Michael Jordan. Everybody sleeps still, right? So I said, "Yeah, my dad said you like my game." He's like, "Yeah, I did." I'm like, "Whoa." So how my dad knew that was going to Oregon. He knew Ahmad Rashad. Ahmad Rashad and MJ are like this. My dad didn't tell me that Ahmad had told him that at the time. So that's how it came full circle.
That's a great story. Thanks for sharing that. So I reached out to our mutual friend, Tim Grover, also a great, guest of the podcast and friend of the sport. And, I was privy to some of those MJ workouts. So I can attest to what you're talking about. I mean, this guy, like, I don't know if he ever slept. I never saw him sleep during the Dream Team experience ever.
So, it was, Andy, it was unbelievable from the standpoint. When I started working out with him, because he said I could work out in that meeting with him that following summer. We would work out and we would play from 2 to 5, let's say, 3 hours.
Yeah.
Then after we would go eat his restaurant, 160 Blue. Then he would be there. I would leave at a certain point, like 10 or 11. I'm like, "Okay, I need to go." he would still be there at 3, 4 in the morning and then do it all over again. I'd never seen him sleep either. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, Tim says to say hi to you, man, because he said that you one of MJ's favorite guys, and he loved being around you. Quote your love for basketball, right? And the fact that you just love to be around the game is what Tim said. So, that's a great quote from a great guy. So
that is, you've definitely had some legends on, and Tim is a legend, and MJ is the legend of legends, right? Like he's actually talked to him on Christmas, just to, send him a text and everything, check in, stay connected. But yeah, he really took me under his wing, allowed me to be in a commercial with him, going to his house, work out with him. He took a vested interest. So I'm so thankful for those relationships.
Wait, which commercial are we talking about?
Oh, it was the old Michael Jordan versus the young one, the Gatorade commercial.
Oh, yeah, I love that commercial. Yeah. You were in that commercial?
I'll send you pictures I've never sent to anybody on set.
Oh,
so you can see
we
it.
We will definitely post those. That's awesome. I got to YouTube that and find it.
Yeah, it was me and this other guy. I didn't do the dunking. Actually, a guy, his name was Kevin Daly, I believe, a Globetrotter, did all the dunking. Mm-hmm. But I was talking trash to MJ and playing a one-on-one. It was unbelievable. We shot at the United Center. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. Wow. What an experience to have, like, the rest of your life to know about. That's incredible.
Right? Like, because, I mean, you don't understand. I could tell you anything about Michael growing up. From his parents' name, his siblings' names, to the day he was born and where he was born at, his shoe size, his favorite Gatorade. So, like, this is like my hero of all heroes to this day. So to have that experience of getting a chance to know him and be around him was like something I'll never, it still doesn't feel real.
Yes. So did you learn anything by watching the 10 episodes of The Last Dance? Did anything like pop out at you that, well, I didn't know that? Because
you know what?
Things did for me.
I got a chance to see his competitive nature playing with him for 2 straight summers. So that part would kind of pull behind the curtain of how competitive he is. I had seen that part. I think just the part of how he handled things as far as like the fame part of it. I mean, obviously we know how famous he is, but how it was like he had to balance that at all times, right? Never let his guard down as far as just being himself. And that part was like intriguing. But he was just, I knew how driven he was being around him. His parents, how he was raised, that really stood out to me. To this day, if you go back and watch, his mom is saying Mr. Jordan, talking about his dad, just so respectful. You know, and things like that. The early parts really was intriguing to me.
Yeah, I had the wonderful opportunity to meet his dad and know his dad from being around the Dream Team. And then I had brought my dad to the Dream Team in Monte Carlo in Barcelona. So the two dads got to know each other. It was quite a bonding experience, really.
Yeah.
So Jamal, you're one of the few guys that I've talked to who actually played against MJ and Kobe, right? Yes. So I know you got MJ at the end of his career, right? And Kobe was pretty much in his prime at that time.
His prime, yeah.
But what are the similarities in these guys? I mean,
everything.
The work ethic and everything. But from your perspective,
so I caught MJ late in his career playing wise, but I had studied him and watched him so much that I could basically tell you everything just watching him. And then playing against Kobe, my rookie year was Kobe's first championship, 2000, 2001. Yeah, so I caught them at that time and then his whole career. And it was eerie how similar they were. Like it was from their size to the way they approach things, to their mentality, to their skill level, to their work ethic, to their always not only wanting to beat you, but demoralize you on the court, right? Like they wanted to take your everything from you to leave no doubt. Like they never let you down watching them ever. They never, they always went for it. And a lot of people have been compared to MJ over the years. But to me, Kobe was the one who actually went and chased it head on and embraced it. Like, oh no, I'm going to be the greatest. And he embraced it. And I think MJ loved that about him. And I said it when Kobe came to my pro-am. To me, he was this generation's Michael Jordan. Kobe was the best player I ever played against, like, period. And so it was like he put that fear in you, in your arena, in everything, just like MJ did. And so they were like kindred spirits. And it was no doubt that they would be that close because they're two of a kind. They're one of a kind, but they're two of a kind. So people that didn't get to play against Michael, they played against Michael through Kobe.
Yeah, very well said. I remember those battles with you and Kobe. not really with Michael. I don't think maybe I saw you play on TV, but I obviously saw you play against Kobe many times, and the daunting task.
He was the best player by far. Like it's not even close because his mentality, and I read the book, by the way, in one day when Phoenix, I was in Phoenix when it came out, but his mentality, his skill level and his work ethic and the fearlessness of him, right? He was fearless, and he was just unbelievable. He had no weaknesses. He was always trying to get better. I mean, me and you can talk to some things I never told, but like he told me conversations about he would have a Michael Jackson, just about like picking his brain about being great and being the greatest and how meticulous he was with different things, like and just like conversations me and Kobe had over the years. Our relationship grew so much, right? From playing against each other to actually texting and talking, and just he was special person.
Yeah, you're talking about one of the pillars of the Mamba mentality, which is curiosity, which people don't really consider with the greats, that they're constantly curious about everything around them, and everything outside of them, so if he reaches out to Michael Jackson, or if Kobe reaches out to John Williams, these are greats in their profession. He wants to know what makes them tick.
Yes.
I mean, that blew me away when we were doing the book together. And he would tell me some stories, and he would tell me stories about my own pictures, like what was going on in that picture. I'm like, seriously? I mean,
okay, so I wasn't going to say this, Andy, but you're absolutely right. So he texted me one of his last years. I've never told this. I'm telling you because I know how special he is to you, and he's special to us.
Thank you.
He texted me, I think it was his last year, and he was like, the year before, towards the end. And he texted me, he's like, how are you still moving so fast? Like, how are you still moving so quick? What are you doing? He wanted to know like the regimen of what I was doing to still be like moving like that. And I was blown away. Like I was like, wow, like this is unbelievable. But you're right. It all comes back to curiosity.
Yeah, incredible. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, man, because I actually wanted to lead off this conversation with this. But 20 years in the league, right? You look fantastic. I know your work ethic, and I know you at a moment's notice would be ready to jump into the league. So let me ask you this question. Why are you not in the league? From your
perspective? To be honest, Andy, I really believe that with the league getting younger, I believe, and I hate to say it this way, but I believe vets are kind of being pushed out a little bit. And it's a sad thing, not for myself. I've had a long career, so not for me, but for the generations come behind, this is the way it's going to be. Because if you look at it, right, and you're a legend in your profession, but I'm sure you didn't become a legend by yourself. I'm sure there was somebody you look towards like, okay, that's how you do it. This is how you do it. And it kind of gives you a foundation for what you need to do, right? And we say experience is the best teacher, which is true. But if you can learn from a veteran in whatever craft it is before you actually do it, it's going to save you time. It's going to save you energy. It's going to give you a solid foundation to move forward. I didn't learn how to be a pro until I played with Charles Oakley or Scottie Pippen or Rick Brunson or Kendall Gill about not just being on time. Being on time is being early, dressing a certain way. Like all those things professionals do to carry themselves a certain way and a certain standard. And I didn't know it was the blind leading the blind. The first 2 years in the league with the Bulls, we're the youngest team in the league. So I didn't have an example to look towards, right? When I saw those pros about how you take care of yourself, and that gave me a solid footing moving forward. And I think that's underrated. And I don't think people think about that when they talk about players that have been in the league for a while. They look at the stats and the numbers, but that's just part of the big puzzle.
Yeah, and plus you need that presence in the locker room.
For sure.
It's like you said, the young guys will look up to you. As far as I know about you, you were never really about minutes. You adjusted to coming off the bench, probably easier than any guy that I ever been around. You were a starter most of your career before you came to the bench. 3 times, 6th man of the year. I mean, that says a lot about your character, the willingness to just kind of put yourself aside for the good of the team, right?
And I would think so. I won teammate of the year 2 years ago. And to me, that was more impressive than the 6 mans because that's truly in the whole league, by the way. The NBA, I didn't know they gave an award for this, but the NBA
I didn't know either.
Yeah, they presented me with the Twyman Stokes Teammate of the Year award. And so when they gave it to me, I was like blown away because that's not only wanting something for you, it's for your teammates, and you care more about them than your own success, and you really want them to do the best. And it would be impressive if you got it just for your team, but to get it for the whole league, where your peers around the league voted for that, I think that says more than any award you can win, individually.
Yeah, for sure. Congrats on that. I didn't even realize that. So Jamal, right now we're in the pandemic, right? The NBA starts up, you were in the bubble. Unfortunately, you got hurt with Brooklyn. I think you only played one game.
Yeah.
And then the phone didn't ring, right? And we're in the pandemic. And I read recently that you see a solution to these games getting canceled, right? The fact that teams have to field an X number of players for the roster, to be a viable team. And what in your mind is the solution to that?
Well, for me, I think obviously there's players out there that can help. There's no reason why a guy like Isaiah Thomas isn't signed, right? Or Mike Beasley or Kyle Korver, right? These are guys who are like proven pros. They've been around for a while. And I'm not saying, obviously they didn't get signed right now, but if you look at with the situation, instead of canceling games, if you had a pool of players, and it doesn't have to be just those guys in the vets, it could be guys in the G League. And it's going to be a short-term basis, obviously. But if you can have a pool of players you can pull from to keep the games going until the guys that are missing get back, I think that is a way for, games to still be played, TV revenue to still come in, still give those vets an opportunity. A guy like Tyson Chandler, what big man wouldn't want to learn from a guy like Tyson Chandler? He's a champion, great teammate, proven pro, keeps himself ready. He's going to lead guys in the right direction. That's invaluable. And so I figured just with, having that pool of players that are proven, I would think that would help some of the solution anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think it's a great solution. I was intrigued and kind of mystified by the reaction to what you suggested. Like somebody wrote about that fielding non-competitive patchwork rosters was going to kind of bring the leagues down, the credibility or whatever. I mean, I would rather see a patchwork roster than have a game get canceled.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And it's not that you have to keep this all year, right? It's just as things come up, you keep a pool of players. They may be in a bubble where they're healthy and safe and training and ready to go, and you get them in there and keep the games going.
So Jamal, it's safe to say, phone rings, you're ready to go, right?
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
End of story. Okay.
End of story.
We are gonna promote that. I mean, you don't need me to do it, but if it helps, we're gonna do it. Because I would love to see you back in the league. I don't care where it is, man.
I don't either. I followed the ball.
Dude, I was excited to see you in the bubble, and then you were hurt before I got there, and I never got to see you.
I know. Yeah. I was so excited to go there too, and it's amazing because, to be honest with you, that injury didn't happen on the court. It started lifting weights. I'm notorious for never lifting weights, and it started in the weight room. I may have done a little bit too much, and then I kind of triggered it, and that's when it happened. But yeah, now I'm ready to go.
Didn't know. Well, that's why I don't lift weights, because I don't get.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm a lot older than you. So Jamal, let me ask you this, man. You played for 9 teams, right? Can you tell me, like, which was either the most fun team to play with or the best memories you have? Because I remember you mostly, of course, with the Clippers, because I saw you all every night. Which one sticks out for you the most?
The Clippers, for sure. I think that was the best team I was ever on. I think that was our chance to win a championship in one of those years, I would say. And it's probably the most fun. It's funny, SportsCenter just made a tweet the other day about Lob City and just all the highlights and stuff. And I was like, I put a question mark. Is this the most exciting team, in that generation? Like, it was unbelievable when you had Blake and DJ and Chris and JJ shooting threes, and me trying to do my thing as well. Like, just all those different personalities blend together. It was just an exciting time. So I would say the Clippers, and I think the Knicks was fun because it was almost like a performance. It was always like you're on stage. I remember one time Samuel L. Jackson came to a game and I wasn't playing, and he looked across the court and he's like, "You're not playing?" I'm like, "No, my hands hurt." He's like, "Oh, like I only came to watch you play," and that was pretty cool. Like, so it was always like you're performing, right? So the Garden, playing with the Knicks and the Clippers were my funnest times ever playing in the NBA.
That's awesome. Yeah, Kobe, of course, always talked about the Garden being Mecca for him.
Yeah,
that was like the Mecca of basketball. He came in at the Forum, which was kind of, I thought, was the Mecca, but obviously MSG was the Mecca. And he had some of his greatest games. MJ had some of his greatest games.
Oh, for sure.
It is a
I remember,
different aura when you go in that building.
oh,
Right?
it's like it's a performance, right? It's theater, it's everything. I remember we played Kobe, and he had became the youngest player ever to score 20,000 points in the Garden, and we were down like 25, and I scored 30 in the second half.
Yeah.
And we ended up losing by 3. But after the game, this video of him coming to hug me, and I think that was the time where he got a different respect for me as far as athletically. And then, I kind of was coming into my own at the time, and that's where our relationship kind of really started. That was cemented.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being with him 2009-10, and I was embedded with the team. Phil Jackson and I were working on our book, Journey to the Ring, and I was on every road trip. And that's where I took that picture of him, like in the ice, that black and white one.
Yep.
Where Phil calls it the Thinker, like Rodin's Thinker, and he was beat up, man. We had played in Cleveland the night before. I'm not playing.
No, yeah,
they had played. And look, you know how it is. You play in Cleveland. I think it was one of those 8:30 starts, and
TV game.
Yeah. Post game interviews, blah blah blah. Don't get on the plane until like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you're at the hotel at like 5 o'clock. You got a game.
It takes a while to go to sleep. Yeah,
insane. People really don't get it. They think that NBA athletes, they're coddled, they're taken care of, blah blah blah. But nobody understands what the rigors of doing this job really is.
Oh, it's something else. Sometimes you'll wake up like, where am I? You'll wake up like, what's my room number? You'll wake up like, what day is it? Like, the different time zones, and you're just exhausted. And even you don't know you're that exhausted until you're on the plane watching film and you doze off in your sleep and you wake up. Right? It's like it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. And sometimes you're in cities you don't even spend the night there. Like you fly in after a back-to-back, you get to your hotel, maybe take a nap, then you shoot around, then you have a game, then you fly somewhere else.
You fly somewhere else. And it's like that's just life, right?
Yeah, it's a wacky existence. So Jamal, I want to talk about the crossover league and incorporate your love for Seattle here. So let's talk about Seattle, because I love Seattle. I love going to Seattle. I loved having 3 teams in that I-5 corridor where we had Vancouver, in Portland,
Seattle,
going up
Seattle,
and down.
Portland. Yeah.
And the fan base obviously devastated when the Sonics left. I had Gary Payton on very early in the podcast, and he's just devastated. I mean, he said, my legacy is erased. And I said, no, let's not go that far. I mean, there's people who remember everything about you, and the Sonics will be back. I mean, do you, now that they have a hockey team, Key Arena has been, redone. Are you confident that the city will get a team back?
Very confident. And I talked to some people beforehand, before the hockey team came, and they said the hockey team was a big thing. So getting the hockey team, getting the arena redone, I believe leads us to getting the Sonics back. And I wholeheartedly believe that. I believe it more now than I have, previous years. And seeing the Sonics growing up, seeing Gary, seeing Sean, I mean, these guys going to the finals, right, to play against MJ. The city was electric, right? And it's funny. Russell Wilson, Bobby Wagner, Cliff Averill, all these Seahawks came to the game when KD and Golden State came here and played a game here.
That's
2 years ago, right?
Yes.
And the city was electric. And it got to the point the football players were like, is this what it's like to have the Sonics back here? Like, because they hadn't experienced it. I'm like, man, it's crazy. And they're like, oh, we have to get the Sonics back here.
Yeah.
They had never seen it like that.
That's crazy.
We had been to an NBA game here. So getting the hockey team, I believe, is a necessary step, and I think it's a hopeful step. And then the crossover is everything right now, because it's the closest we have to NBA basketball. So what I do is I go in the community and ask the kids who they want to see, whether it be Kevin Durant or Chris Paul or Blake Griffin or Kobe Bryant. Kobe stopped by. And so, and he came by on a whim. I'll tell you that story in a minute. But it's free for everybody. And the kids who have never seen these pro players, their favorite players in person, they either have to drive to Portland, they see them on SportsCenter, or they see them on NBA TV, or they play 2K with them. So to see these favorite players in person, right there, talking to them, interacting with them, smiling at them, having some type of exchange, is everything to them to keep, the motivation going. And so, that's why the crossover right now is so important until we get the Sonics back.
Yeah. What was the genesis of crossover? Was it Pro-Am before and then you took it over, or what happened
It
there?
was Doug Christie's Pro-Am.
Oh, okay.
And
Gotcha.
I was a kid when I was 16 years old. I was one of only 2 high school kids he allowed to play in it.
Hmm.
And as he got further in his career, I had grown up in it, played in it every single summer. He was like, I want you to specifically to take it over. And he thought I would do right by it, being that it meant so much to me playing it as a kid. I said, okay, and I took that on in 2003, 4, right around there. And we just grew it. It went from a time where it was at different community centers every week. So it was tough to keep a fan base. It wasn't social media at the time. We just moved around any gym that would allow us until we got to a steady presence. We moved it to my high school, and then we moved it to a community center. Then we moved to Seattle Pacific, and that's where it's located now. It's been there since 2013. So we're going on 8-9 years there now.
Are you thinking you're going to still be able to? I know you didn't do it last summer because of the
Yeah.
What about this summer?
This summer, it all depends where we're at. We just moved to phase 2 yesterday, actually. So if we're there and it's safe for everybody, safety's first. If we're there and it's safe, we'll be there. But if not, we'll wait another summer, and then hopefully things are back normal then.
Yeah, I got to come up because I've heard so many great things about it.
Yeah, you have to.
And I've been to Drew League. I've never been to Rucker Park, but I've heard that it's one of those 3 interchangeable in terms of great summer leagues to see. So you got to tell me this Kobe story. So what happened?
Okay. Mamba? So we are playing in a celebrity softball game. Richard Sherman's actually. Kobe's there. Macklemore is there. Russell. Everybody's there, but Kobe, being Kobe, is the star of stars, right? So we're back there, and obviously we had the relationship, but it wasn't as like cemented or tight at that time. So I'm still a little nervous talking to him. This is still Kobe, right? You know what it's like. You've seen everybody. And so, he's warming up. I'm warming up. We're kind of talking. We're talking about different things. That's when he told me about Michael and, different things. And so towards the end of it, I really started letting my hair down, and Gary's there. So Gary is like a big brother. B. Peyton is like a big brother. He's a big brother to Kobe. So all 3 of us are talking now. I'm like getting more comfortable because Gary's here, right? So it's not just me and Kobe talking. And so I said, finally, it's getting like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. The game was supposed to start like 5:30. My game, basketball game, because I was going from softball to basketball. Yeah. And it's like 4 o'clock. I'm like, Kobe, man. Every time somebody comes to Seattle, they want me to ask them to come to Pro-Am. And everybody thinks you're coming to Pro-Am anyway. And he kind of starts chuckling. I said, would you come? And he's like, are you going to play? You're going? I said, yeah. He said, I'll be there. And the guy from Nike, I won't say who it was, the person he was with, was like, no, Kobe, we got to get back to LA. The plane leaves at this time. He's like, no, push the plane back and go and watch Jamal play. So he brought he brought his wife, his daughters, he brought everybody. He came to watch me play. And to this day, that was my highest scoring game at Pro-Am.
Right, and you hit the game winner, right?
Yeah, 63 points. But I was so nervous because their car was following me over to Pro-Am. And I'm calling everybody in the car. I'm like, oh my gosh, Kobe's behind me. I'm still a fan. So I'm like, Kobe's behind me. He's coming to Pro-Am. So I tweeted out, and it was standing ovation when he walked in. He was so gracious and so unbelievable. And Andy, he had a million reasons at that moment to say, hey, I'll come back another time. Hey, thanks for letting me know, but I can't make it. He made it happen. And my respect from that level with him went totally different. And it was just unbelievable. And I have other stories because our friendships really took off after that. Start texting and everything, and really, really cool. Yeah,
that's a wonderful story. One thing I got to know though, because I've never asked anybody this: what were his softball skills like? I didn't know that Mamba played softball.
He batted left-handed.
No way.
I think he was in the home run derby, and he hit a lefty home run. Yeah. He had his hat backwards like Griffey, and he hit. I think there's footage of it. He hit a lefty home run. This guy, he could do everything. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, back in the day, Magic used to have a softball game, and same thing. All, it's Hollywood, so all the celebs would come out and everything. And one of the most fun afternoons of the year for me, is, I just go out and shoot it, but just seeing everybody just let loose, have fun, and for a good cause, of course.
Exactly. Did you shoot Midsummer Night's Magic?
Every year.
I used to go to that, and I remember Michael at the end when they have their like dunk off, right?
Yep.
And Magic would get Michael to dunk. I remember being a kid. I think I was 10 or 11 whenever I was in LA 4th and 5th grade and went to one of those. Yeah. Is when Michael had the blue jersey on. And it looked like you had to have taken the picture.
Of course. I literally, behind me right here on my light table is a whole stack of Midsummer Night's Magic photos for 2 reasons. One, somebody from Magic's office is coming and looking at a lot of my archival stuff. And two, I reached out to Rob Lowe to get him on the podcast because I heard his podcast with Magic and talking about that game when he coached. And he had his he looked like Pat Riley, like hair slicked back. He had the Armani suit on. So I spent yesterday looking through these photos to send to Rob. So it's hilarious that you bring that up.
You know what? I'm thinking you may have a picture. There's a picture, or it should have been, I'm sure. I played in Magic's last Midsummer Night's Magic before he passed it to Barron and Paul Pierce.
With the white uniforms at UCLA, that one?
No, not UCLA. It was at
the Forum.
Forum?
Yeah.
It was probably 2003, 4.
All right, I got to look. I got.
Yeah, but there was a picture with Magic. It was maybe LeBron's rookie year, maybe.
Yeah, LeBron's rookie year. Then it was Staples Center.
It was Staples. It may have been Staples. Okay.
And Magic didn't play in that game.
No, he was coaching that one.
Right, exactly.
Or he was on the bench, and I was sitting next to him. I always wondered if there was a picture there of us on the bench.
I have to look. That was the first time I met LeBron, by the way. It was
wow.
It was right after the draft, and he was, the second coming of Magic,
And Melo was there, right?
Melo was there, yeah.
Yeah, I played in that game. Baron Davis played in the game.
I gotta look.
You gotta look for that.
Yeah, I gotta look for it. That's full circle, man. It's incredible.
That is.
Yeah. Well, Jamal,
I got a couple questions for you.
You're turning the tables on me, man.
If that's okay.
Yeah, of course. This is an interactive democracy here. So yeah.
First off, who was your favorite person to shoot? I'm putting you on the spot. I'm sorry. You don't got even favorite. Give me your top 3 or 5.
Oh yeah.
Favorite people to shoot.
I got to go with Kobe first. Not only because I saw him the most, but the young Kobe. I mean, I saw the young MJ. Yeah, but I mean, he was a dunk machine, as you remember.
Oh, unbelievable!
And I tell this story: if I came home after a game without maybe 4 or 5 ridiculous dunks from this guy, it was a bad night.
Yeah.
And he was just so much fun to be around, and the energy that he had, and MJ, of course, followed very closely there. But although I did cover all of Michael's career in all 6 championships and Dream Team, I wasn't around him as much as
Kobe, right?
And of course, I wasn't around, Michael as much as Magic. And unfortunately, Magic's career was cut short, but I was there for basically his second year till he retired. Okay. And, I can't be more thankful than to be around 3 guys like that in my career. How incredible
3 of my favorite players ever.
Yeah. I mean, I've been blessed, Jamal, with that. And then, you talk about Lob City and that era, the Clippers, and man, is so close, the injury to Chris and that bizarre, the Blake injury, but that bizarre like hand thing when he broke his hand, remember, reaching in. I mean, it was just, it wasn't meant to be, I guess.
It wasn't. Yeah.
But how much fun that was. You gave the Lakers a run for their money in this town when they were
for a little while, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I've talked to Karan Butler, he played for both teams.
Right.
Of course, Lamar Odom played for both teams. I think Lou Williams played for both teams, right?
Yeah, Matt Barnes too.
Matt Barnes, yeah. So something special going on with the Clippers now, in the Ballmer era. And I love it. The script in LA is awesome. So
it is. Okay, and then my next question was your favorite 3 shots.
Oh, my favorite.
Like just actual shot. That's gonna be impossible, I know. But that's like asking my favorite 3 crossovers. So I know you.
Yeah. I almost asked you that. But I got 4 kids, so at any given day, I like one of them more than the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. I understand.
But the one that I always point to, really, if I was going to be remembered for one picture in my career, it would have to be Michael holding the trophy. Michael in the locker room, 91, with his dad next to him,
with his hat on.
Yeah, crying his eyes out, hugging that trophy, because it was just a moment in time that, even at the time it meant something, but it has taken such a significance. All 6 championships and the incredible career he had, and what that photo meant to him. I literally got a call from his office after his dad passed away, saying that Michael is asking for a print. Could you please send a print to him? Because one of his favorite pictures. So to know that picture is like hanging in his house or his office, means a lot to me. Yeah. And then, there's been a few other ones along the way. The Mamba gave me a few. I just saw a highlight the other night of this vicious Blake dunk that I actually got a picture of. I think it was the one where he climbed over Kendrick Perkins. Remember that?
Oh yeah, you got that one too.
That was sick. And man, LeBron, how could you discount him? Steph Curry,
Right.
all these guys. So
how does your timing go into it, Andy? Like, how do you know that's the moment? Do you feel it? Do you feel like that's the moment? Do you have a feel for it? So it's almost
that's a great question. And I'll point it back to how you prepare for a game, right?
Right.
You just don't like get in the car and show up, right? I mean, it starts literally the night before, getting your sleep, the morning, preparing what you eat, what time, having your regimen, your routine. And it's kind of the same thing with me. Even on the road, more especially, that I'm very, very regimented. But the preparation of setting up all these remote cameras and having a great crew, a great couple of assistants who helped me along the way, and having my mind clear. I learned that from Kobe.
Yeah.
How many times did you see this guy during the national anthem be meditating while the anthem is playing? I mean, I saw him do that during an NBA finals, during the Olympics. I was like, if he can do that, I can do that. And, being prepared, but also loving what I do, of course, like you do and everybody does.
Right.
And, timing it comes with experience. Same thing with you. When you can cross over a guy, when that moment is. When you can make that fake. And your opponent's game as good as well as your own game, right? So I have to learn everybody's game. It's a like, for example, LeBron comes to the Lakers. Now I'd shot a lot of LeBron, but I wasn't familiar with his like day-to-day game. So I had to kind of learn that. And that's been fun. And God willing, knock on wood, I'll keep loving what I do, and my timing will stay with me. And when it's time to hang it up, I'll hang it up.
Yeah, you're like going back, right, and looking at some of my favorite pictures ever, some of my favorite players. One example, I think, for Michael Jordan's "Come Fly With Me," the picture they used was you.
Yeah.
It's amazing, like looking back at some of my favorite pictures that take me back to my childhood when I'm 10, 11, 12 years old, dreaming about, oh, look at that Jordan picture. You were like the person who shot it. It's unbelievable. Like, I'm like, wow, he shot that too? Like, Andy was there for that too?
Yeah.
And it's amazing because you've almost made us all like you put us in that moment. Like, even if we weren't there, you put us there like we were a fly on the wall. Like, literally, we were in that moment with them. Yeah. And so that's a gift, man. Like, it's unbelievable watching some of the things you shot. I'm like, wow, you did that too. Like, I'm going back looking like, this is unbelievable.
Well, thank you, man. But don't go back to like Bill Russell and George Mikan, because that's before my time.
No, I won't go that far. I wasn't there then either. I went from my point on.
Hey, Jamal, last thing I want to talk about, and you've been incredibly generous with your time, was in the bubble and the whole experience of the league shutting down. We had just had the Jacob Blake situation, George Floyd had happened, Breonna Taylor. It was a really eye-opening thing for me personally. I mean, to see really what was going on with all you guys and how much, how difficult it was, you keep playing, not keep playing. Do you think that that the social justice issues that the NBA, the players have been able to express has really kind of helped people like me understand what's going on and really appreciate what Black Lives Matter really, really means?
I would hope so. And I think some people like yourself have gotten it and been kind of like, wow, kind of blown away by all the stuff, day to day that sometimes we have to deal with. And then some people have not gotten it, right? And so it's up to all of us that have gotten it now to continue to educate the ones who have not gotten it. And then if they choose to still not get it after knowing the information, then that kind of tells you, what their where their moral compass is or what their belief system is. So for us, I feel like it's an ongoing process. It never stops. It's always about trying to push forward, and try to push forward the right way. And if you look at it, if you've seen a lot of the shirts, and I'm sure you did in the bubble, and of course they have Black Lives Matter, but a lot of them were equality. Just to say, hey, we're not trying to be ahead of anybody. We just want to be looked at as equals, as a society. And I think that's not asking too much, right? And so, you continue to educate, you continue to push it forward. And when people stop talking about it, that's when hopefully things are how they should be. But if they're not talking about it, they're not how they should be, that's the issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we're going to keep talking about it on this platform, and I'm glad I have this platform to
Yes, this is
talk about
amazing.
these issues. So,
It's a great title.
thank you, man. Well, Jamal, I can't thank you enough, man. I mean, how great is it that you and I had this time together to chat? And again, one of my favorite guys, always with a kind word, always say hi, always shake the hand when you come in the building. Um, I don't take that for granted, by the way. And
No,
it's
you
just
are the true
nature.
legend of sport. No, I've always been so respectful, and even if you weren't a legend, I would treat you the same way. But the fact you are a legend makes it 10 times cooler to see you with this platform and doing the things you've done. And like I said, you were the like looking back, you were like the backdrop of my childhood of all the pictures I had on my walls and all the things I did and were able to see and dream about. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jamal. That is awesome. And I can't wait for this to air and we'll promote it and everything. And man, God willing, I'll see you out there on the court somewhere. I
Yeah, I
really
think you will. I got a good feeling. So we'll see
good,
what happens.
good,
But I'm
good,
definitely
good.
gonna send you those pictures as well. So
Oh, absolutely,
yeah.
man. You got to. Thank you for your time, man. Thank you for being the legends of sport, and being such a great friend all these years.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Take care.
All right. Talk soon.
Well, thanks everyone for checking out this classic episode with the great Jamal Crawford. We hope you all enjoyed the conversation. We wish Jamal the best of success in life after a legendary 20-year NBA career. Thanks as always to my producer and head researcher, Veronica Ahn. Remember, you can find us on the iHeart app and online, as well as Apple and Spotify and your favorite podcast platform. Keep following us on Instagram at Legends of Sport, our Twitter at Legends_of Sport, our website, legendsofsport.net, and our YouTube and TikTok channels, Legends of Sport. My photography can be found on Instagram and Twitter at ADB Photo Inc. So, folks, you know we'll be back next week with another great episode. Until then, stay safe and stay well.